Rain crashed against the marble windows as if the sky itself was furious. Inside the mansion, laughter echoed from the grand hall. Sharp, cruel laughter that didn't match the storm outside. Dorothy stood near the staircase, her trembling hands wrapped around a tray of champagne flutes. She was supposed to be invisible, or at least that's how Leonardo made her feel these days. His guests called her the quiet one, the wife who smiled too little, the woman who didn't belong among the silk and silver. And tonight, Leonardo made sure everyone noticed it. "Be careful, darling," he sneered, raising his glass as he turned to his friends. "My wife here has a special talent, spilling drinks when she's nervous." The laughter was instant. Cameras flashed. Dorothy froze. Her eyes darted to him, silently begging, "Please, not in front of them." But he didn't stop. He never stopped. "Come on, Dorothy," he continued, voice dripping with mockery. "Don't look so frightened. You're not at one of your little charity meetings. This is the real world." The tray shook. One glass tipped. Champagne splashed across Leonardo's designer suit. Gasps rippled through the crowd. He stared at her, then smiled. That fake, camera-perfect smile. His assistant stepped forward from the corner and gently taking the tray. "I'll handle this, ma'am," she whispered. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned. Leonardo waved dismissively. "Of course, the assistant to the rescue. Maybe you should learn from her, Elena." Dorothy blinked hard, holding back tears. She turned away before anyone saw the pain in her face. She walked slowly toward the corridor, away from the laughter, away from the humiliation that had become her nightly routine. Maria followed quietly. In the privacy of the back hallway, Dorothy leaned against the wall, her breath shaking. "Why does he hate me so much, Maria?" she whispered. "I gave him everything." Maria hesitated. "He doesn't hate you," she said carefully. He loves power more than people." Dorothy gave a sad, trembling smile. "And I'm the weakest one here." "No," Maria said firmly. "You're just the one who's been quiet too long." The thunder outside rolled like an angry promise. Later that night, long after the party ended, Maria returned to Dorothy's study to tidy up. But Dorothy wasn't reading like usual. She sat at her desk, staring at a document with a pen in hand, the kind that required more than a signature. When Maria approached, Dorothy folded the paper. "Maria," she said softly, "how long have you worked for me?" "5 years, ma'am." "And you've seen everything, haven't you?" Maria hesitated, then nodded. "Enough to know you deserve better." Dorothy exhaled deeply. "Then I need your help, but I need your silence more." Maria frowned. "Of course, ma'am. What's wrong?" Dorothy opened her drawer and slid out a sealed envelope. The wax seal bore her initials. "If something happens to me, this must go to Mr. Collins, my lawyer. Promise me you won't open it." Maria stared at it. "Something happened to you? Ma'am, what are you?" "Promise me." Maria swallowed hard. "I promise." Dorothy smiled faintly, a smile that looked like goodbye. The next morning, Leonardo announced he'd be traveling to Dubai for a business expansion. He didn't mention that Vanessa, his young assistant, was going too. Dorothy knew, of course. She always knew. But she didn't say a word. That afternoon, she sat alone in the garden, sunlight glinting off her wedding ring, a ring that had once meant forever, now just a symbol of endurance. She whispered to herself, "When love dies, silence becomes survival." Maria watched from the balcony, her chest heavy. She didn't understand everything yet, but something inside her told her that the balance of power was about to change. Days passed. The mansion grew quieter, emptier. Dorothy stopped going out. She canceled her charity dinners. Even her smile, that polite, hollow thing, disappeared. Until one morning, Maria walked into her room and found her collapsed on the floor, clutching her chest. "Mrs. Dorothy." She called for help, but the silence of the mansion answered back. By the time the ambulance arrived, it was too late. Maria stood in the hospital hallway, staring at the covered body of the woman who treated her like family. Her hands shook. The sealed envelope burned in her purse like a secret alive. 2 days later, Leonardo returned, wearing black, face pale, the perfect grieving widower for the cameras. He gave speeches about love and loss, tears glistening under the media lights. But when the cameras turned off, his voice went cold. "Pack her things," he told Maria. "You're no longer needed here." Maria didn't respond. She only nodded and left the room, the envelope still hidden. Outside the mansion gate, slipping past, the thunder still rumbled in the distance. She looked up at the clouds and whispered, "You'll see her again, Leonardo, but not the way you expect." The narrator's voice softened, echoing through the scene. People think justice dies with the kind-hearted, but sometimes it waits, patient, silent, in the hands of those left behind. Maria stood outside the tall iron gates, the rain leaving streaks across her face like invisible tears. She clutched the envelope inside her coat pocket, feeling the edges dig into her palm. It was the last piece of Dorathy left in this world, and Maria intended to protect it. The next morning, she went straight to the lawyer's office. Collins and Associates occupied the top floor of a glass tower overlooking the city. The receptionist recognized her immediately. "Mrs. Dorth's assistant, right? Mr. Collins is expecting you." Maria followed her down a quiet corridor. The smell of polished wood and paper hung heavy in the air. When she stepped inside, the lawyer, Mr. Collins, gray hair, calm eyes, rose from his chair. "Maria," he said softly, "I was afraid this day would come." She placed the sealed envelope on his desk without a word. He broke the wax, scanned the pages, then looked up, visibly shaken. She did this just 2 weeks before she passed. What did she do? He closed the document slowly. "You should sit down." Maria's heart pounded. Dorathy left everything, her company shares, her personal assets, her mansion to a single heir, and it's not her husband. Maria blinked. "Then who?" Mr. Collins hesitated, studying her face. "You." The room went silent. The hum of the air conditioner sounded like thunder. "Me?" Maria whispered. "That can't be right." She was very specific. "You are to inherit everything. You're also the executor of her estate. Leonardo receives nothing." Maria felt dizzy. There must be a mistake. I'm nobody. Mr. Collins pushed a smaller letter toward her. "She wrote you this." Maria unfolded the paper. The handwriting was delicate, trembling. "If you're reading this, then my silence has finally spoken. You've been the only one to see me, not the image, not the brand, but the woman. I leave you my world not as a reward, but as a responsibility. Protect what's good, destroy what's cruel. He won't understand why. Don't explain. Dorathy." Maria pressed the letter to her chest, tears burning behind her eyes. "She knew," she murmured. "She knew he'd destroy everything." Mr. Collins nodded. "Leonardo will contest it, of course, but the document is airtight. She planned this carefully." Maria stood, suddenly steadier. "Then we follow her plan." 2 days later, the news spread like wildfire. Millionaire CEO Leonardo De Vega loses everything to his late wife's assistant. Reporters swarmed the gates, cameras flashed, commentators speculated about affairs, betrayal, madness. Leonardo's empire began to tremble. Contracts froze. Investors backed away. He stormed into the lawyer's office with Vanessa by his side, fury written all over his face. "This is a joke," he barked. "You think I'm letting my wife's servant steal my legacy?" Mr. Collins kept his tone even. "Mr. De Vega, the will is legal and binding. Miss Maria Santos is the rightful heir." Maria was there too, sitting silently. She didn't look at Leonardo until he finally turned to her. His expression was disbelief wrapped in hatred. "You?" he spat. "You did this." Maria met his glare. "She did this. I just kept my promise." "You tricked her. You manipulated her while she was weak." "She was never weak." Maria cut in, her voice low but firm. She was finally free. Vanessa tugged at his arm, whispering, "Let's go, Leo." But he shook her off. "You'll regret this," he hissed. "I built that empire. You don't even know how to run it." Maria stood, her calm somehow louder than his rage. "Maybe not, but I know how not to destroy it." The following weeks were chaos. Leonardo's name turned toxic in the media. Rumors surfaced about his affair, leaked emails, financial scandals. No one knew who leaked them, but Maria did. Dorathy had prepared every piece of evidence before she died. Bank records, messages, even recordings. Maria followed her instructions step by step, guided by the files Dorathy had left behind. Each move dismantled another piece of Leonardo's false image. Yet late at night, alone in the mansion she now owned, Maria sometimes whispered into the dark, "I wish you were here to see it, Dorathy." But the quiet answered back. Then one evening, as she was sorting through Dorath's personal items, she found a small silver bracelet inside a box. Engraved on it were the words, "For the one who stayed." She slipped it onto her wrist, tears silently falling. "I'll finish what you started," she promised. Leonardo, meanwhile, was spiraling. Vanessa was gone. She'd taken what little money he had left in a joint account. His friends stopped answering his calls. The tabloids now painted him as a fraud. He sat alone in his penthouse, staring at a whiskey glass. "She left me for the maid," he muttered to no one. "My own wife humiliated me from the grave." He slammed the glass against the wall, shards scattering across the floor. At that moment, his phone buzzed. An email notification appeared. Subject line, "Watch this tonight." There was no sender name, only a link. Curiosity overrode caution. He clicked. The screen filled with Dorothy's face, recorded months before her death. "Hello, Leonardo," her voice began, soft but cutting. "If you're seeing this, it means I'm gone and you're finally out of masks." He froze. "I know about Vanessa, about the money you hid, about the things you said when you thought I wasn't listening." Her eyes, gentle even in video, seemed to pierce through him. "You built walls around yourself so high, you didn't notice you were sealing yourself inside. I'm leaving everything to the only person who reminded me I still had worth." The screen flickered. "You once said power is all that matters. I hope you still believe that when you have none." The video ended. Leonardo sat there, shaking. For the first time in years, he had no words. Outside, the city lights flickered through the rain, tiny, distant, unreachable. And somewhere across town, Maria closed her laptop, deleting the scheduled upload from her queue. She didn't need the world to see him break. Not yet. Revenge doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers until the guilty can't bear the silence. Leonardo didn't sleep that night. The glow from the city below crawled across his living room floor until dawn. Every time he closed his eyes, Dorothy's recorded voice came back, calm, unforgiving. By morning, he was pacing, shirt half-buttoned, phone pressed to his ear. "Find out how she did it," he snapped. "The assistant, Maria Santos. I want everything on her." His private investigator answered nervously. "Mr. De Vega, legally there's nothing." "Then make it illegal." Leonardo cut him off. "I built this company from dust. No one steals it from me." He hung up and stared at the reflection in the glass wall. "She thinks she can erase me," he whispered. "Let's see how long she keeps my empire afloat." At the mansion, Maria was already in motion. She met with board members, managers, and lawyers, all of them wary, uncertain. She could feel their eyes measuring her. The assistant, who got lucky, she kept her voice steady. "Mrs. De Vega believed in this company's purpose, not its gossip. Either we keep building or we leave her name to rot. I won't allow that." Some nodded, others whispered behind their screens, but she didn't care. Dorothy had left detailed instructions. Every step was part of a quiet plan to rebuild the foundation Leonardo had corrupted. Later, in Dorothy's old office, Maria unlocked a drawer she'd never opened. Inside lay a black USB drive labeled only Phase 2. Her hands trembled as she inserted it into the laptop. The screen filled with files, contracts, photos, and a single folder named Truth. Inside was a video recording, time-stamped 6 months earlier. Dorothy sat at her desk, face pale but composed. "Maria," she said directly to the camera, "if you've reached this, then he's already trying to destroy what's left. You'll need the truth to survive." Maria leaned closer. Dorothy continued, "There's another account, money Leonardo hid offshore, stolen from shareholders. The documents are on this drive. If exposed, it ends him completely, but use it only when necessary. Revenge is heavy. Carry it only as long as you must." Maria whispered, "You thought of everything, didn't you?" Meanwhile, Leonardo's spiral deepened. His investigator returned with a folder of Maria's history. Humble beginnings, no scandals, spotless record. Leonardo threw the papers across the desk. "So she's a saint. That makes it worse." He called Vanessa out of desperation, but she ignored him. He left message after message until finally she picked up. "You sound pathetic," she said coldly. "I made you," he hissed. "You used me," she corrected. "And now you've got nothing left. Goodbye, Leonardo." The line went dead. He gripped the phone so tightly it cracked. Days later, Maria attended a press meeting on behalf of the foundation Dorothy had created. Reporters pushed microphones forward. "Is it true Mr. De Vega plans to challenge the will?" Maria met their eyes. "He can challenge whatever he likes. The truth doesn't change." Cameras flashed. Somewhere in the back of the room, Leonardo watched, disguised under a cap and glasses. When Maria walked off stage, their eyes met for the briefest moment, her calm against his rage. That night, a car followed Maria home. She noticed its headlights lingering in the mirror, but when she turned onto the mansion drive, it sped away. She pretended not to see, but she knew exactly who had sent it. Inside, she locked every door, every window. Then she sat in Dorothy's study, the bracelet cold against her wrist, and whispered to the empty room, "I'm not afraid of you, Leonardo." The phone rang. A private number. She answered slowly. Hello? A voice, distorted. You think you've won, don't you? Cowards hide behind blocked numbers, she said quietly, then hung up. Outside, thunder rolled again. The next morning, Mr. Collins arrived unannounced. Maria, there's something new. The bank contacted me. Someone tried to transfer Dorothy's remaining accounts using forged signatures. The attempt failed, but it came from one of Leonardo's proxies. Maria nodded, unsurprised. Then it's time. She opened the hidden folder on the USB drive and slid a printed copy of the offshore documents across the desk. He left me no choice. Mr. Collins stared at the papers. If this goes public, he'll be ruined. He already is, she said. This just shows the world why. 2 nights later, headlines exploded. De Vega Holdings under investigation for fraud and embezzlement. Police cars appeared outside Leonardo's penthouse. Cameras followed as he was escorted out, shouting, "This is a setup! She's framing me!" Maria watched the footage in silence. It didn't feel like triumph, it felt like closing a wound. She whispered, "Rest now, Dorothy. It's over." But even as she said it, a shadow crossed her mind. What if it wasn't? Because the next morning she received an envelope at the mansion door. No sender, just her name scrawled in jagged ink. Inside was a single photograph. A picture of her standing by Dorothy's grave, taken from a distance. And beneath it, a note. You took everything. Now I'll take it back. If you have watched to this length, just when the storm seemed to end, a darker one began. Sometimes revenge doesn't die, it evolves. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story you do. There's a golden pen writing somewhere. Maria's fingers trembled as she stared at the photograph. The ink on the note bled slightly from rain, but the message was clear. Someone had been there, watching. The storm outside howled against the windows, echoing the pulse in her chest. She called Mr. Collins immediately. "Someone's following me." "Calm down, Maria." "What happened?" She described the photo, the note. He exhaled. "Lock the doors. I'll contact the authorities." "No," she said quietly. "This isn't for them. He's playing a message. He wants me to be afraid." "Maria, I won't give him that." She ended the call and set the photo on the desk. For a moment, she just stared at Dorothy's portrait on the wall. That calm, unreadable smile. "You knew he wouldn't stop, didn't you?" she whispered. Then she remembered something. The small safe beneath Dorath's desk. She had opened it once before, but inside there had been another compartment, sealed by a code she didn't know. Her heart pounded as she typed the date of Dorath's birth. Nothing. Then she tried the date of the Charity Foundation's founding. Nothing. Finally, she tried her own birthday. Click. Inside was a single flash drive and a folded note. Open quote, "If he comes for you, show them this." Close quote. Maria plugged the drive into the computer. The screen flickered, then filled with video thumbnails, hidden camera footage. Each was labeled with a date. She clicked the first one. The office appeared on screen months before Dorath's death. Leonardo and Vanessa stood in front of the desk, arguing. "You promised to handle it quietly," Vanessa hissed. "I will. Once she's gone, it's all ours," Leonardo replied. Dorath's voice, faint but trembling, came from behind the door. "Is that what I am to you, Leonardo? An obstacle?" He turned toward the sound, pale. "Elena, this isn't." She stepped into view, eyes shining with betrayal. "Get out," she whispered. The video froze there, Dorath's expression carved in heartbreak. Maria covered her mouth, shaking. There were more files. Meetings, deals, betrayals, every lie, every manipulation. Dorothy had recorded everything. The last video bore a date 2 days before her death. Dorothy sat alone, weaker now, her voice barely above a whisper. Open quote. "Maria, if he ever threatens you, release this. But remember, revenge is easy. Justice is heavy. Choose wisely." Close quote. Tears filled Maria's eyes. "You left me everything, even the truth." Across the city, Leonardo sat in a dingy bar, nursing a drink. The headlines had turned him into a ghost of himself. Fraud. Corruption. Humiliation, he muttered, slamming the glass down. He'd lost his company, his fortune, his reputation. But he hadn't lost his pride. He still had contacts, the kind who didn't care about legality. He pulled out his phone and made a call. "I want something recovered from that mansion, tonight." He gave the address, the layout. "There's a safe under the main desk. Bring me what's inside." That night, Maria sat alone in the study, the bracelet cool against her wrist. Thunder rolled again. She felt a shift in the air, a kind of stillness before danger. The lights flickered, a noise from the hallway, footsteps. Who's there? Silence. She reached for the lamp. The shadow moved again, closer this time. Her breath caught. Then a figure appeared in the doorway. "Mr. Collins?" she asked, relief flooding her voice. But it wasn't him. The man was tall, hooded, gloved. He didn't speak, just advanced slowly. Maria backed toward the desk, fingers searching for the phone. The man lunged. She hit the alarm button on the desk. Sirens wailed through the mansion. He grabbed for the flash drive, but she snatched it first, clutching it against her chest. "Tell him," she gasped. "It's over." The intruder turned and fled into the storm as security guards rushed in. Moments later, police arrived. Maria gave her statement, heart still pounding. "He wanted this," she said, holding up the drive. The officer nodded grimly. "We'll increase patrols." After they left, Maria sank to the floor, shaking. She opened the laptop again and copied the files to the cloud. "You'll never touch this again, Leonardo," she whispered. By dawn, news broke that Leonardo had been caught bribing an officer. His arrest became the final nail in his reputation. Cameras swarmed as he was dragged out of a hotel in handcuffs. Maria watched the footage, expression unreadable. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just whispered, "It's done." Some endings are only pauses. Some victories are only preludes. Outside, the first light of morning touched the mansion windows, gleaming off Dorath's portrait. Maria reached out, brushing the frame. "I hope you found peace," she said softly, "because I think I'm finally finding mine." For the first time in months, the storm stopped, or so she thought, because an hour later, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Nice try, Maria. You forgot one thing. The will isn't the only secret she left behind." She froze. Then slowly she smiled. A calm, knowing smile. "Then let's finish this. If you have watched this far, the truth is a double-edged sword, and in this story, both sides still have blood to draw." Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story because every time you do, there's a golden pen writing somewhere. Maria stared at the glowing screen until the words blurred. You forgot one thing. The will isn't the only secret she left behind. A chill ran through her. The message came from an encrypted number. She tried calling back. No answer. Then a second notification, a link. No subject line, no text. She hesitated only a second before tapping it. A video began to play. The picture was shaky, filmed in the same office where Dorathy had recorded her messages. But this time, Dorathy wasn't alone. Beside her sat an elderly man, one Maria had never seen before. Open quote, "This is Attorney Ramos," Dorathy said on the screen. "If this message reaches you, then the sealed section of my will has been triggered. It contains something I couldn't put in writing." Close quote. Maria's pulse quickened. Open quote, "If anyone tells you the inheritance was complete," Dorathy continued, "know that they're lying. There's a second document kept at the vault of De Vega Investments, accessible only when all key holders are present." Close quote. The video froze, static flickering across Dorath's face. Then it ended. Maria whispered, "Key holders?" She remembered what Collins once mentioned. 3 people held codes to the company's deepest archive, Elena, Collins, and Leonardo. An hour later, Maria burst into Collins's office. She left another will. Collins looked up from his desk, startled. "Another? What?" She showed him the video. His eyes widened as he watched. "My God, she planned everything." "I need your help," Maria said. "We have to access that vault." He hesitated. "You know who the third key holder is?" "Leonardo," she said flatly. Collins sighed. "He's in custody. Even if we request his presence, it will take." "Then we make it happen," Maria interrupted. "I want this over, once and for all." 2 days later, under police escort, Leonardo De Vega was brought into the headquarters' secured basement. He looked thinner, defeated, but when his eyes met Maria's, there was still venom in them. "So this is what victory looks like?" he sneered. "Standing over scraps?" "Just open the vault," Maria said coldly. Collins inserted his card and code. The first lock released. Maria entered the second. Then all eyes turned to Leonardo. He smirked. "You're lucky I'm curious." He typed his sequence. The heavy door hissed open. Inside lay a single metal case. Maria stepped forward, but Leonardo moved faster, grabbing it first. "Maybe I'll keep this one secret for myself," he taunted. "Don't be stupid," Collins warned. Leonardo hesitated, reading Maria's expression, calm, almost pitying. "What? No threats this time?" "There's no need," she said quietly. "You've already laughed bitterly and tossed the case onto the table. Then see what your saint left you." Collins opened it. Inside were 2 envelopes and a small voice recorder. One envelope was addressed to Maria Santos, the other to Leonardo de Vega. Collins handed them their letters. Maria unfolded hers carefully. Dorath's familiar handwriting filled the page. Open quote, "My dearest Maria," close quote. "If you are reading this, then you have survived what I could not. You showed kindness when surrounded by cruelty, but kindness alone is not why I chose you. You are my proof that loyalty still exists in a world built on greed. The second will gives you control not just of my shares, but of my story. Use it to rebuild, not to destroy." Maria's eyes burned. She clutched the paper against her chest. Leonardo read his silently, jaw tightening. Open quote, "Leonardo, I loved you once, not for your ambition, but for your fire. Somewhere you let that fire become hunger. I leave you nothing tangible because you must learn the value of what cannot be taken. Conscience." Close quote. He crumpled the letter, throwing it aside. More lectures, even from the grave. Then Collins switched on the voice recorder. Dorath's voice filled the cold vault. Open quote, "If both of you stand here now, it means fate finally forced you together one last time. Maria, forgive where you can. Leonardo, let go of what you can't. This company was built from both your hands, hers steady, yours reckless. Maybe between you there's still balance." Close quote. For a moment, no one spoke, only the hum of the ventilation filled the room. Leonardo looked at Maria. "Balance? She left you everything. How's that balance?" Maria met his gaze. "She left me a burden, the same one you couldn't carry." Something in her tone silenced him. For the first time, he looked unsure. Collins quietly gathered the documents. "There's one last note. It says the remainder of the estate, liquid assets, properties, goes to the foundation in both your names." Leonardo blinked. "Both?" Maria nodded slowly. She meant it. Balance. Outside, reporters waited. Cameras flashed as Maria and Leonardo exited side by side. "Miss Santos, Mr. De Vega, what happened in there? Who truly inherited?" Maria paused at the top of the steps. "Dorathy De Vega's legacy belongs to those who build, not those who break. That's all anyone needs to know." She turned, walking toward the waiting car. Leonardo stood still for a moment, then followed, eyes shadowed but thoughtful. In the distance, thunder rumbled once more, faint, almost like applause. If you have watched this far, sometimes revenge burns until nothing remains, but sometimes justice is quieter, just a door closing behind two people who finally understand what they destroyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story because every time you do, there's a golden pen writing somewhere. As the camera would fade, Maria looked out the window of the car, city lights streaking past. She whispered, "Rest now, Elena. The storm's over." Or maybe it was only the calm before something new. Days turned into weeks after the final will reading, and though the mansion had grown quieter, peace refused to settle. Maria worked from Dorath's old office, but every shadow seemed to whisper memories. She had tried to honor Dorath's last wish, rebuilding the company, restoring the foundation, yet every night she felt a hollow ache. Revenge had brought justice, yes, but not peace. Outside, the world moved on. News outlets hailed her as the assistant who became an heiress. Board members now called her Madame Santos, but behind closed doors, many still questioned her right to lead. One morning, Collins arrived with a file. "Maria, there's something you should see." He laid down an envelope stamped with the logo of Aurora Foundation, Dorath's biggest charity. "An audit?" Maria asked. "Worse," Collins replied. "A withdrawal. Someone's been moving funds out, large sums, all under the foundation's name." Maria frowned. "Impossible. Only authorized signatures could." "I checked," he said quietly. "The authorization belongs to Elena." She froze. "That's not possible. She's..." "I know, but the digital signature is hers, perfectly replicated, which means someone knew her access codes." Maria's pulse quickened. "Leonardo." Collins hesitated. "We can't be sure yet." Maria stood. "Then we'll find out." Later that evening, she went to Leonardo's temporary apartment. Gone were the marble floors and city view penthouses. He now lived in a modest suite under police watch, his fortune frozen. He opened the door slowly, surprised to see her. "You again. Come to gloat?" "Someone's stealing from the foundation," she said, "and they're using Dorath's name." He blinked, caught off guard. "And you think it's me?" "Who else knows her codes?" He scoffed. "You think I'd risk another scandal? I'm already a walking corpse." She studied him. He looked thinner, tired, almost human again. "I want access to your old servers," she said. "Help me trace the breach." Leonardo leaned back against the doorframe. "You always did have nerve, Maria. Courage, she corrected. Dorothy thought it mattered. He sighed. Fine, I'll help, but if I do, we do it my way. She hesitated, then nodded. Deal. That night, they sat together in front of his laptop, screens flickering with data streams and archived logs. It was strange, sitting this close to the man who once destroyed everything. After hours of silence, he muttered, "You really believed she loved you that much?" Maria didn't look away from the screen. She didn't just love me, she trusted me. He gave a humorless laugh. She trusted me once too. Then you taught her why she shouldn't. The words stung more than he expected. He looked away. Suddenly, a new file appeared on screen. An automatic transfer from Aurora Foundation to an offshore account labeled Ramos Trust. Ramos, Maria whispered. The lawyer from the video. Leonardo frowned. He disappeared after the will was executed. Maria's eyes narrowed. Maybe he didn't disappear. Maybe he took something Dorothy left behind. The next day, they tracked the account to a private bank in Lisbon. Collins arranged for official correspondence, but Maria couldn't shake the feeling that Dorothy had left yet another layer to her plan. That night, unable to sleep, she walked through the mansion again. The air smelled faintly of rain, the kind of weather that had always followed every revelation. In Dorath's study, she noticed something she hadn't before, the corner of a loose painting frame. When she lifted it, a small hidden compartment opened behind the wall. Inside was a single USB drive, no label, no note. Her hands trembled as she plugged it into the computer. A single video file appeared, for when truth becomes heavier than silence. She clicked play. Dorothy appeared again, frail but smiling faintly. Open quote. Maria, if you've found this, then perhaps the last piece has fallen into place. Ramos was never just my lawyer. He was the keeper of the accounts I built outside the company. Money meant for something bigger than the De Vega legacy, but he became greedy. Close quote. Maria's heart pounded. Open quote. If he surfaces, remember, justice must not become vengeance again. Otherwise, you'll end up where Leonardo stands. Close quote. The video ended. Maria sat back, stunned. Dorothy had created a second fortune, hidden, meant for rebuilding lives, not destroying them. And now, Ramos was stealing it. The next morning, she called Leonardo. Pack your things. We're going to Portugal. He laughed incredulously. You're insane. Maybe, she said, but Dorothy trusted you once. I want to see if she was right to leave a piece of her legacy in both our names. For a moment, he didn't respond. Then he nodded slowly. Fine. One last time. As the plane took off, the city lights vanished beneath the clouds. Maria looked out the window, clutching Dorath's bracelet. Leonardo sat silently beside her, eyes lost somewhere far beyond redemption. They thought the storm had passed, but in truth, it had only changed skies, and at 30,000 feet, secrets still waited to fall. Lisbon shimmered beneath a gray dawn when the plane touched down. Maria stepped onto the tarmac, coat snapping in the wind, while Leonardo followed a few paces behind. The air smelled of salt and rain, the same scent that had haunted every turning point in their lives. They rode in silence to the old quarter, where cobblestone streets coiled between pastel buildings. Collins had arranged a discreet meeting with the local bank's compliance officer, but something in Maria's gut warned this wouldn't be routine. Inside the marble-walled lobby, the officer greeted them nervously. You're here regarding the Ramos Trust account? Maria nodded. We believe it contains funds misappropriated from the Aurora Foundation. He hesitated. The account holder requested a withdrawal this morning, a man claiming to represent the late Mrs. De Vega's estate. Maria's pulse spiked. Where is he now? The officer glanced toward the Courtyard Cafe across the street. Through the glass, a man in a gray coat sat alone, briefcase on the table, eyes hidden behind dark glasses. Leonardo muttered, That's him. Maria crossed the street before anyone could stop her. Mr. Ramos? He looked up slowly. Time had carved deep lines across his face, but recognition flickered. Ah, Miss Santos, and Mr. De Vega, the ghosts return. You're draining Dorath's foundation, Maria said. She trusted you. Ramos gave a thin smile. Trust is expensive. She left fortunes buried under guilt. I'm simply redistributing. Leonardo slammed a hand on the table. You forged her signature. Ramos's voice remained calm. I safeguarded assets she never wanted you to touch, until she died and her precious assistant decided she deserved sainthood. Maria's eyes flashed. Those funds were meant for rebuilding lives. Lives? Ramos chuckled. or your conscience? Before she could answer, two security guards approached from behind, not the bank's men, but Ramos's. He stood, briefcase in hand. If you'll excuse me, I have a flight. Leonardo stepped in his path. You're not leaving. Ramos studied him for a long moment, then smiled coldly. Still pretending to be noble, Leonardo, we both know greed is your native tongue. Maria spoke quietly. Maybe it was, but not anymore. She snatched the bracelet from her wrist and slammed it onto the table. The impact triggered a tiny click. Hidden within the clasp, a microdrive popped out. Ramos froze. Maria held it up. Dorothy recorded everything you did. Every transaction, every offshore shell. I sent copies to the authorities an hour ago. Ramos's mask cracked. He turned to run. But police vehicles screeched into the street, sirens blaring. Officers surrounded the cafe, weapons drawn. Leonardo exhaled, half shocked, half relieved. You planned this, Maria nodded. Dorothy taught me to finish what others start. As Ramos was led away, she looked out toward the sea. The wind carried a faint whisper of peace she hadn't felt in months. Later at the Portuguese courthouse, she testified with composure. Evidence from Dorath's recordings sealed the case. The stolen funds were returned to the foundation and Ramos was sentenced. When it was over, Leonardo found her standing outside beneath the rain. You won, he said quietly. Maria shook her head. We just stopped the bleeding. He studied her for a long moment. What happens to me now? She looked at him, really looked beyond the arrogance past the ruin. You still have a name. Use it to do something that matters. He gave a faint, sad smile. Maybe redemption isn't as glamorous as revenge. Neither is grief, she said, but both can build something better. They stood in silence, listening to the rain. Months passed. The Aurora Foundation reopened under new leadership, Maria's. Schools were rebuilt, families supported, lives quietly restored. At the opening ceremony, she stood before the crowd, Dorath's bracelet gleaming softly on her wrist. This foundation isn't about inheritance, she said into the microphone. It's about continuation, proof that compassion outlasts corruption. Applause rose. In the back row, Leonardo watched silently. He didn't stay for the photos but when he left, Maria noticed something. A signed check slipped onto the donation table. His name beneath a large anonymous gift. She smiled faintly. That night, alone in the mansion, Maria walked into the study one last time. She lit a single candle beside Dorath's portrait. I kept your promise, she whispered. But I think you were right. Justice is heavy. Sometimes the people we lose leave behind more than wealth. They leave mirrors. And when we finally face them, we see not who they were, but who we've become. Maria blew out the candle. Darkness filled the room, but it felt warm, not cold. Her phone buzzed again, a message from Collins. All accounts settled, foundation thriving, Dorothy would be proud. She typed back a single line. She already knows. Then she set the phone aside and looked out the window as the city lights shimmered below, the storm clouds parting at last. And so the assistant became the keeper of an empire. Not through greed, but through grace. They humiliated her once, tried to erase her name. Yet, when the will was finally read, it revealed not an inheritance, but a test to see who among them still understood loyalty. If you followed this story to its end, remember, revenge fades, but integrity echoes forever. If you believe that too, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story. Because every time you do, there is a golden pen writing somewhere.